Aloha, everybody. Today, we're going to talk about your spiritual health, how your physical health is affected by your spiritual health. This is a subject or a topic that I think that is really important for everybody. I think that as the world continues into 2016, 2017, and so forth, I think it's going to become a lot more of a prominent subject that people are very aware of. And so this is going to be a really great topic for you guys to listen to. So we'll start out by explaining what is spiritual health. Well, you have a spiritual body and a physical body, and they have to work together. That it's kind of like a hand and a glove. Your spiritual body is what makes your physical body work. So like you can have a hand and you can have a glove, but the glove being your physical body is not going to work if you don't have the hand inside the glove, which is actually what makes your arms move, what makes your brain work, it makes your organs go, it brings life to your body. Your spiritual body is what brings life to your physical body. And so on the flip side of that, when someone decides to pass on and go to the other side, that's what happens when their spiritual body leaves their physical body and departs permanently. Now, there are times when your spiritual body departs anyways, because we do astral travel and that sort of thing, but it's linked, it's tied in by cords. And when you permanently leave your physical body, that's when people transition to the other side. So your physical body cannot operate, it cannot be alive and functioning without your spiritual body. And so these are two very important things to understand. We learn all about our physical body, we don't learn about our spiritual body. That being said, as we have the two bodies, we also have physical health and we have spiritual health. And the most interesting thing about this to me is your spiritual body and your physical body's health, the state that your spiritual body's health is mimicked in your physical body's health. So it's like a mirror. So I can look at people, or I could probably even teach people how to do this because it's really, really easy. And I find it interesting when I go out into the world and you're going to the mall or you go out to eat lunch or whatever, I can look around and without even being having any psychic abilities whatsoever, I could look around to the people around me and explain or be able to tell you, give those people a reading based on their physical appearance and the state of their physical health. Because it's a mirror image of what's going on the inside on a spiritual level. Why is this important? Well, it's really important for a lot of different reasons. For one, your illnesses or different aspects, different things going on in your physical body do not manifest into a physical state until it's been in your spiritual body for a little while. So everything starts and manifests on a spiritual energetic level on your spiritual body. And then when you ignore, what happens is things start to then create in a mass matter physical state. And I don't mean like mass, like, actual mass, but I mean like that your body is considered mass, it's considered physical. So things will then manifest themselves into a physical state after your spiritual, your energetic system holds on to a specific thing for so long. So for instance, they do talk about, and some people, I actually had asked this question if people were interested in this subject because I find the subject very interesting. I find it also very helpful when people are understanding it. I asked this in the Higher Purpose Learning Group. If you're not in it, you may want to make sure that you friend me on Facebook or ask for the link on Facebook. I can let you into the group. But in the Higher Purpose Learning Group, I think that there's a link to that actually on my keys to the spirit world.com. I think you can go to keys to the spirit world and there's a link that you can be invited in. Anyways, I asked people about it and people were very interested. And one of the things that they were wondering about is they hear, well, I hear that asthma is related to this sort of thing, or blood pressure is related to this sort of thing. This is all true on some levels, but what I want you guys to realize is it's a generic outline. So it doesn't mean that you can pinpoint asthma exactly to the same thing on every single person, because everybody is so individual and so individually created that their fears are tailored to their specific experiences, this life, past life, that sort of thing. And so, yeah, there's a lot of breathing stuff, anxiety, asthma. That stuff is related to fears. Blood pressure and heart is a lot of times related to stress levels, as far as anger goes. Is a lot of heart related. But a depression can be heart related. So do you see what I mean? I don't necessarily like how you say, okay, asthma is related to all of these things, high blood pressure is related to all of these things, and your heart problems are related to all these things, because that's too vague a statement. So what can be more helpful? What do I see when I look at people with their spiritual bodies and their physical bodies? Here's the things that I can tell you. One is, if you start noticing that you're having physical symptoms, I don't suggest that you only address these things on a spiritual level either. I think that addressing them, let's say you have high blood pressure, let's say you have a cold, you have a flu, you're not feeling well, whatever. I think that you should do both things, not just, I think you should go to the doctor, see your doctor, do the appropriate medicine avenue that feels comfortable to you, whether it be homeopathic or Western medicine or whatever. You definitely should address it from a physical aspect at the point that it's become a physical manifestation. But you will heal much faster and you will see much quicker results and potentially permanent results if you also address from the point of where it all stems from, the root of the problem, which is going to be somewhere in your spiritual body. The trick is to figure out where the heck does it stem from, which I'm going to get into that a little bit more. But so if you're finding yourself not feeling well, if you're finding physical manifestations occur, then you also want to, like I said, go do all the things with the doctors and whatnot, but you want to start figuring out, you want to kind of pick your life apart a little bit. You want to go, okay, what's going on? What's happening in my life that's making me manifest some type of physical symptoms? One of the biggest things that I find with people when they start manifesting physical symptoms that are not a mirror of wellness is they're forcing themselves to live a lifestyle that's not conducive or not mimicking what their soul desires. So they're forcing themselves to live their life in a way that they're not happy. It can be work related, it can be relationship related, it can be all kinds of things related. It might be 10 things that you're doing that you're not happy. But the absolute biggest thing that I notice is people force themselves to do things that they're not happy about. They force themselves to go to the job that they're not happy about. They force themselves to stay in a relationship because of kids or whatever that they're not happy about. They're just not happy because they don't like the way that they look, whatever the deal is. If you continuously force yourself to go to the job that you hate, if you continuously force yourself to do things on the weekend that you can't stand to do, but you feel like you have to be responsible, so you have to make sure that you spend your whole weekend doing laundry, your whole weekend doing grocery shopping, whatever it is, to be responsible and be ready for Monday. If you don't ever find the place of relaxation and fun in your life, if you don't have a reason to be here and live, if you're just living to go to work every day to make money to live, that's not living. And that's when I really start finding that people cross over from the spiritual wellness to spiritual sickness. And then it manifests into their physical wellness into physical sickness. And I find this really interesting because you don't see it as much in kids and teenagers, of course. You
you see it in adults, and you don't see it in adults as much until they become older adults. And if you know people in your life, and I actually have kind of thought back to a lot of people that I know who used to be really enjoy themselves and have a really great time as they were younger, teenagers, early 20s, whatever, and then everything starts to change as they get older or they have kids. They start changing into more of a fear-based decision maker. Well, if I don't do this, I'm not going to be able to do that. Where in regards to money, in regards to job, in regards to everything that they do, well, what if I go on that trip, and what if I go skydiving and then I just splat to the earth? I mean, they come up with things that they would never even thought about when they were in their 20s. They live in a fear-based world, and it tends to come with age for a lot of people. I think on a lot of different levels. One, everybody tells you how fearful you should be. Two, people have kids, and then they start being worried that they're not going to be around for those kids. And three, they start feeling the responsibility of making more money or wanting more things in their life. But truthfully, see, I think that part comes where you're wanting. The more that you get away from your desires and your passions and doing things that fulfill you on a soul level, you desire to do this, you love doing that today, you felt so good about what you did that day. The more that you lose that aspect of yourself, the more that you're going to want and need for more material things. So it's kind of like a catch-22. But mostly people who are starting to not feel well. If you're not feeling well, sit down and write a list of the things that you feel that you're doing that are on a daily basis or a weekly basis, things that you are forcing yourself to do because you think that if you don't do those things, your life will turn into shambles. It can be like going to the same job every day, this type of routine. You will be surprised if you really try to figure out how many things that you do on a daily basis that you force yourself to do or that you're not happy doing. You will be really surprised at how many things that you're doing that is not for happiness. It's for what you think is responsibility. It's for because you're afraid if you don't do these things, something is going to be a result of that. You will be shocked at how many things that you force yourself to do that you're not happy about. This brings into the fear-based stuff, which is another thing which I also see. Fear. Everybody starts becoming very, very afraid of things to happen in their life, and that's manifest into anxiety, into their spiritual bodies, and then they start manifesting that into physical bodies. They're afraid that this person's gonna not be in their life, their kids are gonna move away, that they're not gonna have enough money for this, that they're afraid that they're gonna be unhappy. They become so afraid of so many things in their life. It's really interesting, and this is going to be too short of show to get into all the things addressing fear-based, but if people realized how the world actually worked and they really got into universal laws and really realized how much of your world, your physical and spiritual world, is really manifested and created on a daily basis by your thought process, they would be it would release a lot of the fear. But the problem is nobody wants to change what they're doing to see if that's the way that it works. So they don't want to change into going into a visualization type of mindset. They don't want to change into going to thinking the world can be different. They don't want to change their thought process because it's so scary to think that, well, what if I test this? It's kind of like if that test that you do where you fall back and have to trust somebody. It's almost like when you start to learn about the universal laws, which I did write a book on this, and before I forget, it's on Amazon. If you Google my name, Jennifer O'Neill, you're going to find my Universal Laws book. People write me about it all the time. They say it's one of the best books they've ever read. It's really helpful in helping you change from what I call robotic thinking to what you've learned so far in your life into learning that there's other things. But anyways, that exercise, or learning that there's other ways that the world actually works. There's exercises that you can do, the ones where the trust fall, where you fall back and hope your friend catches you and doesn't drop you on the ground. I understand that when you start trusting the universal laws and things of that nature, It is like a trust fall, only you literally can't see anybody behind you, and you're just hoping that you don't hit the ground. And so that's kind of what it's like to trust universal laws, because you can't see anything. You can't see anything back there. You're trusting that something's going to catch you. There's going to be a safety net, and there could not be something more terrifying. However, you trust me when I tell you that the reason that I wrote the book is because I specifically wrote it because as I grew older and realized that I had kids and things that I started doing based on fear were starting to cause me some issues as well. And I was starting to make decisions based on fear. And it got to a point where you get yourself in a situation that you're feeling like this is not working for me. There has to be a better way. There has to be an easier way. And I started revisiting basically what I knew from a young psychic. That even happens to us as psychics, weird enough. You start trusting all these things when you're younger, and then you have kids, and oh my God, everything changes, and you get all worried, and you get all stressed out that you're going to screw things up, and that there's little children you're not going to be able to feed, and everything else, and your parents are going to say, I told you so. And so, but you end up miserable anyways if you continue to do what everyone else is doing. It just got to a point where I just did not want to do what everybody else was doing anymore. I wasn't getting any further financially. I wasn't getting better with health stuff. I was not feeling happier, and it just sucked. And so I started going, there's got to be a better way. There has to be. So I went backwards to where I was when I was a younger child, what I remembered, because life seemed to flow really good when I was younger. Some of the things I started to remember was the things that I naturally knew. I was born knowing, which was all these universal laws and how my visualizing, when I would visualize something, it would start to happen that way. And then I started realizing that I had been training myself as I went to bed and as I was in these meditative states like I talked about on last week's show. If you haven't missed it, definitely go back and listen to that. When you're in the meditative states during the day, before sleep, when you wake up, when you're zoning out, when you're sitting in your chair, I started realizing that I had trained myself to go over all the very stressful, crappy things that were going on in my life. And I started panicking and worrying that those were not going to turn out the way I wanted them to. And it created more stress, more anxiety. Your blood pressure goes up. You start getting more fearful. You start getting crankier. And I realized, oh my God, I'm doing this all the time. Like, no wonder my life is like this. No wonder I feel like this. And so I was determined to go backwards when I was younger and figure out where I'd gone wrong. And so I started remembering how much I used to visualize and I was so young, I didn't know any better. I just trusted, no, if I think about it this way, this is what's going to happen. And then I started remembering it did. It happened that way all the time. It was crazy. So I had to, what I call detoxify my brain thinking. So I had to start going back and retraining myself constantly to stop from this fear, stop from this anxiety part of myself, and go back to, it's got to work out this way just 'cause. I mean, if I'm going to see it that way, I'm going to see it turn out good. If I'm going to be stressed about something, I'm going to pretend in my mind that stressor is just going to go away and somehow it's going to just turn out well for me. And then it started working and things started happening and my thought process started changing. My whole life started changing. My financial situation started changing. The more I trusted, the more I could change my life. The more the health thing changes, the more everything changes. So anyways, long story short, I wrote the Universal Laws book, but which I'd like you guys to go read. But the thing, how this relates to your spiritual and physical health is this is how people change. They change from trusting the universe, trusting things will work out, into a fear-based person on a soul level. And once you start living your life in fear, once you start feeling robotic in your thinking and forcing yourself to do the things that you don't want to do in life, your spiritual health will begin to suffer. You'll start, how do you know? How do you know before it becomes a physical manifestation? Well, first of all, you start getting unhappy. You start getting cranky. So if you're finding that you're cranky a lot during the week or the day, that's how it first starts. Then it starts getting to where you get into really unhappiness or like depression. If you're into any type of depression or you're really kind of feeling down a lot, that is really a huge, huge sign that your spiritual health is suffering. Then from there, it can actually go into lethargic laziness. Your spiritual body can literally become lethargic and lazy. It's really interesting, but that can happen. Just like when you gain weight on a physical level, you can gain energetic weight. The energetic weight from the fear and the anxiety and doing things that you don't want to do can make your spiritual body very lethargic. That is a third thing that happens. So usually you'll see your grumpy and cranky, depression type of stuff, longer grumpy crankiness, which is depression, sadness, that will set in. Then you will experience spiritual laziness, a lethargic, not wanting to do anything, feeling really hard to be motivated. Then all of those things, those are your spiritual signs. Once that you still ignore, if you ignore all of these things, that's when the physical manifestations of physical problems will start. So you get signs to prevent this. And after you ignore for so long, it will begin to manifest into a physical problem. So how do you prevent this from happening? Well, if you notice any of these signs happening, the first thing that you need to do is start changing your life. I do something called the opposite day. You remember when you used to do that, the opposite day when you were little? If I start feeling that I'm cranky too much, I will literally notice what happens is first I'll get cranky, then my day will mimic my crankiness. You ever notice that? You get cranky, then everybody's cranky around you, or you drop something on your foot, or you end up late because you're stuck in traffic. It just snowballs into crankiness. Your whole day becomes cranky. If I notice a pattern of me doing that 1 or 2 days in a row, I do the opposite of everything I'm doing. If I'm showering in the daytime, I shower at night. If I'm working in the morning, I might work at night. Or if I'm working out at night, I change everything that I'm doing. I try to switch everything up. I try to bust out of that energetic, stuck, blocked crap that happens to everybody. You will never not get out of this forever. The thing is, you have to learn to notice the signs and then change it before it becomes a problem. That's all it is. It's not that you're going to figure this out and you're going to be spiritually in great health forever, because it's just not going to happen. But you will have your ups and downs. But the thing is to recognize it, change it, and catch it before it becomes a problem. So the other thing that people have to pursue some type of passion or creativity in their life to keep their spiritual health level high. No matter what you do, that is not negotiable. At some point in your life, whether it be that day or that week, you must be pursuing something that you're passionate about, something that you love. It can be a hobby. It doesn't have to be something that you're doing at work, although that would be great. But it can be a hobby. You must absolutely be doing something on a daily, weekly, monthly basis that you absolutely love to do. Something that you're passionate about, something that brings you happiness. I don't care if it's going to a movie, critiquing shows, listening to podcasts. Creating, crocheting, doing stained glass, fishing, whatever it is. If you do not have this consistently in your life, your spiritual health will fail. Imagine it being like that's the nutrients in your soil. If you're growing a plant, you must have nutrients to your soil. The nutrients to your soil to make that plant grow, because you can kind of try to grow plants in any kind of dirt. It's not always going to be working. But if you make sure that you have the proper good nutrients in the dirt, that plant is going to flourish no matter if there's a rainstorm or, a very big windstorm. Do you see what I mean? The roots of the plant are strong. They bounce back. Are they going to have different weather around? Yes. But as long as you start from the roots of the who you are, the roots of the soul, and make sure that the soul is nourished, then you have something going for you. Then you have a lot to weather the storm. You have magic to change everything. So make sure that you're doing something that you are very passionate about, that you love. Make sure that you get back to what I call your inner child and try to children are amazing because they just do whatever they want to do. If they don't want to do nothing, they don't do it that day. They just sit down and sit down. They're just like, nope, not happening. And then they cry because you try to make them do what you want them to do, which is not what they want to do, you know. But they're really amazingly smart because that's how we should all live our life. Not that you should really try to, you know, do things and harm anybody or any of that nature, like if your kid hits someone with a truck. But none of that kind of stuff. But what I'm saying is they basically get up and they do what feels good to them that day. Even if you go to work, you can still do things that feel good to you that day. So try to remember your inner child and where you were when you were 20 and teenager years, etc. And try to remember what it was like before that you felt like you were forced to conform to everything that everybody else does that says that that's what makes the world go round. Because those people don't really know what makes the world go round, hence all the health problems that we're having. It's really interesting. The thing, and I'm getting towards the end of the show here, but the things that I've been discussing that affect your spiritual health is forcing yourself to live a lifestyle that's not nourishing your soul, that is forcing yourself to live a way that you feel like you have to live and you're angry about it. It makes you unhappy. It makes you sad, but you're forcing yourself on a daily, weekly, monthly basis to live a life that you don't enjoy. Worst thing you could possibly do for your spiritual health. Second thing, fear. Make decisions based on fear. Worrying about money, worrying about this, worrying about changing the job. Oh God, don't change your job. What'll happen? If you change your job and do something that you love doing over here, you're going to have a pay cut in half, and then, you know, the world is going to come crumbling down, and oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Making choices based on fear. Worst thing you can do for your spiritual health than your physical health. In order to help you get through the fear, again, I suggest you have to start learning about the universal laws and how the world works on a visualizing level, an energetic level. Check out the Universal Laws book. Again, you know, and the other thing about universal laws, which I want to say real quickly before I wrap up, is people don't realize that universal laws, these energetic laws, are actually scientifically based and proven, which is, I find so strange that they do not teach this in school. Why they don't the most important stuff that they could teach you in school, they don't teach you. They teach you all this other weird stuff that you'll never ever remember. But these are actually documented. This energy stuff I'm talking about, it's real. It's scientific. It's not some metaphysical thing we just make up. So living your life based on fear of what could happen if you make a change. Changing that. You have to want a better life more than you're scared of the fear too. That's just a given. So universal laws will help you with that. And that will help you get out of the robotic thinking, which is stop living your life the way everybody else is. I mean, look around you. How many people around your life is healthy? I bet 90% of them have health issues. 90% of the people I know, besides the young ones, have health issues. Once you become adult, it's like it's an accepted reality that that's what's going to happen. Your body and your health is going to fall apart. That's ridiculous. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever even heard. Why are people accepting this? And then they're thinking it's all because it's physically based. What? Oh my gosh. Just makes me crazy. So, no, it's not physically based. Number one, you've accepted it. Number two, you've accepted living the life that everybody else is living. Number three, you've accepted living it, making choices based on fear. And number four, you've forgotten who you were. You've forgotten who you were because as people become adults, they become out of touch with their own reality of who they are and what they want and what they need in life. What are their passions? What makes them tick? What do they enjoy? What is happening? They've forgotten. They've lost touch with who they were entirely. And they just accept that this is their life now. And I don't want you guys to forget who you were when you were happy. I don't want you to forget who you were when you were younger. It happens. And you might have forgotten already. And you might be going, well, I feel like I'm a responsible adult now. Well, are you a happy, responsible adult? That's all that matters. If you are, fantastic. You didn't even need to listen to the show. But most adults that I run into, and I'm not even kidding you, it is literally 90% or more. It's constant. In fact, this has been on my mind a lot. So every time I do go to like California Pizza Kitchen or something, and I'm looking around and I'm just like, oh my gosh, look at all these people struggling on the inside, because I can see them struggling on the outside. Of course, it does help that I'm psychic, but so that being said, I'm going to wrap up the show. Keys to the Spirit World is a way that you can get into the Higher Purpose Learning Group. I hope that I did give you some good info and insight so that you understand. Don't focus on the specific health problem that you're having, but if you are having any physical health symptoms, you need to go backwards and start evaluating your life. And you have to start changing your life, your lifestyle, how you live, how you make choices. You have to maintain your spiritual happiness, your spiritual health. You have to nourish that soul. When you nourish the soul, the body will naturally heal itself. You would not believe how many doctors I have talked to, physical doctors, Western medicine doctors, that actually know this and will concur with what I'm saying. But they don't like to tell their patients. They've literally told me they do not like to tell their patients because their patients are not open a lot of times to this type of I guess thinking, I would say. And plus they said they don't want to sound like a quack. Isn't that weird? So your physical body, if you care and take care of your spiritual health, your physical body will then follow. It's a mirror. It will follow. So don't not see the doctors. Go see the doctors. Go do all those things to handle your physical health. But work both ends. Spiritual body, physical body. Work both ways in, because you're going to see very quick results. Thank you for joining into Spirit Chat. Until next week, have a wonderful weekend. Mahalo.
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, you know, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Black Friday is coming, and for the adults in your life who love the coolest toys, well, there's something for them this year too. Bartesian is the premier craft cocktail maker that automatically makes more than 60 seasonal and classic cocktails, each in under 30 seconds at the push of a button. And right now, Bartesian is having a huge site-wide sale. You can get $100 off any cocktail maker or cocktail maker bundle when you spend $400 or more. So, if the cocktail lover in your life has been good this year, or the right kind of bad, get them Bartesian. At the push of a button, make bar-quality cosmopolitans, martinis, Manhattans, and more. All in just 30 seconds. All for $100 off. Amazing toys aren't just for kids. Get $100 off a cocktail maker when you spend $400 through Cyber Monday. Visit Bartesian.com/cocktail. That's BARTESIAN.com/cocktail.